Hello everyone, I am Mithuraj Dhusia back with the second talk for this FDP reading films. If you remember, my first talk centered around reading films, the mise en scène. Now today we'll be talking about reading films, cinematography, sound and montage in films. First of all, let me thank again Dr. Nirmalya Samanto for inviting me for this FDP and also the entire FDP team that has worked really hard for this particular FDP, and of course Ramanujan College Teaching and Learning Center. So let's begin with this. As in the last talk, I will be talking a bit, and then of course we'll be referring to certain clips that have been taken from YouTube. The link that is of course provided to you all people. So you are requested to watch the specified minutes, specified time period that has been linked with that clip, right? And of course it's taken from YouTube and it's for academic purpose. So reading films, as we have seen earlier, cinematic language is a very important tool as far as reading films are concerned. Reading films is concerned. More often than not, especially some of us who are from English literature background, when we analyze films, when we critically comment upon films, sometimes we focus largely on the narrative, on the plot, setting, and what happens, action. And of course, the different schools of or different theories, abounding. But cinema has its own language, and it is very important that when we are critically analyzing any film, any short clip or long clip, as far as cinema or film is concerned, we also focus upon what the filmmaker is trying to communicate through the language of films, not merely through the narrative. So the first part of my talk would be about cinematography. What do we understand by cinematography, for example? Cinematography, according to me, is the art of visual narration. When we talk about or when we watch films in theater or through your personal DVD system or in computer or anywhere else, right? A lot of things go as far as your on-screen features are concerned. All of us get to see many things, including shots, camera, angle, camera movement, focus. We'll be discussing all these things today, right? So cinematography is a very, very important aspect of not only film making but also film watching. To begin with, shots are an integral part of cinematography of any film. Now, how do we define shots? Well, we all watch films, and when we watch films, we generally, to a layman, it would be okay, this particular scene in that film had X, Y, and Z interpretations. However, as a film scholar, we also need to distinguish between shot and scene. What is a shot and what is a scene? Scene comprises shots. Shots which the duration can be, anything 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, or can be less than a minute, and sometimes almost 1 second. So shots can be of any duration. Scenes comprise shots, and any textbook dictionary will give you the definition of shot as series of frames in an uninterrupted period of time. So when you are watching any particular scene in any film, you might be coming across on certain moments when you feel there is a cut and the scene moves in a different way. So the scene comprises of so many shots, and sometimes one scene can be one singular shot. So it is very important to understand films, how to read films through shots. How many types of shots are there? There are many types of shots. Of course, in this particular talk, we will be focusing on only limited number of shots. Well, to begin with, we let's discuss about something called close-up shot. What do you mean by close-up shot, for example? Well, close-up shot is a shot where the subject is very, very close to the camera as it appears. It might seem to you that the camera is focusing minutely on the subject. So that is a close-up shot. All films have close-up shots, right? So what can be the implication, what can be the purpose achieved by the filmmaker through this close-up shot? Let us discuss. See, close-up shot can be having infinite number of effects. Broadly speaking, it can induce, let's say, romance. It can induce love. It can induce very close friendship. Right. Close-up can also introduce you to a particular character of within the film. Right. When you as a viewer see a particular character in the film, the close-up shot can reveal to you many things about the film. Close-up shot can also induce horror in that particular thing, in a particular scene. So, the first clip that you will see is a song, an old song filmed on Gurudutt and Wahida Rahman, and the song is "चौदहवीं का चांद हो तुम या आफ्ताब हो, जो भी हो तुम खुदा की कसम लाजवाब हो." Now, if you focus on the camera, if you focus on the scene, what is the camera doing? As Gurudutt, the character, introduces, starts with the song, right? He is filming that song on the beloved. So let us watch that clip. Let us watch this clip and then we'll discuss. Yes. So as you have watched that particular clip, that song, one thing is very clear, that here is a lover who is wooing his beloved through different songs, different imageries. And what is the camera doing? The camera is focusing very, very closely on Wahida Rahman's face, on the heroine's face. So the lyrics combined with music and sound and the camera is giving you a close-up of the female protagonist. So the lover is wooing beloved. And what is the overall effect? The overall effect is that of romance. The overall effect is that of love. Right? So close-up of any particular character focuses largely on the face of the character. Right? So this can be number one effect. Another effect could be if we have a particular scene whereby there is only one particular character and the camera focuses on that particular character. See what happened in the earlier clip that we had seen. You had two characters and one character was looking at the other character. Now let us see this clip, the second clip, which shows, and this is from the film Charulata, directed by Satyajit Ray. Now this particular clip shows you the camera focusing on this woman, Charulata, right, the female protagonist of the film. Let us see this and then we will discuss further. Yes. So, as you have already watched this clip, what is the clip showing all of us? The clip is showing, unlike the previous clip, there is only one character and the camera focuses on this character doing something. What is that character doing? The character is looking through the binoculars outside the window in the public world. Now, there is an occasion, or there are more than one occasions, when the camera focuses on the face of this character, the female protagonist, who is watching through the binoculars outside. Right. That is again an example of close-up shot. And aligning it with the general subject of the movie, aligning it with the general subject or the theme of the film, this is about loneliness. Right. And those of you who have already watched that film would understand that this talks about, upper class women, Bengali women in Bengali household and educated women who have to live within the domesticity of the four walls, and the only access to the public world is through the binocular or through the window, right. So, that is again a close-up shot. So, if in the earlier clip the close-up shot gave you idea of romance, right, about love between the couple, here you have the close-up shot giving you the perspective of this woman, which is of loneliness, and the only access that she has outside this domesticity of four walls, as I would like to say, is through the window. So, you see, close-up shots are revealing something about the subject. Aligned with the close-up shot in this very particular scene is also the point of view shot, POV shot, as is generally known in the film circles. What is POV shot? POV shot is point of view shot, which means when the viewer gets to know the point of view of the subject concerned. And where does it show? It shows when this character Charulata, she is looking through the binoculars outside the window. And what does she see? Well, she sees one pot-bellied person walking from right to left, right, of your screen. She rushes to another window, again sees the same character, another window, she sees the same character, right to left. So, what are we as viewers seeing? As viewers, our seeing is aligned with the seeing of this particular character, right, the female protagonist. So, that is called as point of view shot. See, so there is a difference between close-up shot and point of view shot. Within the same scene, within the same clip, when the camera focuses on this woman looking at the other, looking through the window, through the binoculars, that is close-up shot. But when the camera shows you not this woman, but only through the binoculars the passerbys on the road, that is point of view shot, right. So, keep that thing in mind. So, close-up shot, and of course, the third effect of close-up shot among many other effects could be inducing horror, right. So, let us watch a clip from this film Junoon, shot with Rahul Roy in 1990s, and it is about transformation into an animal. It is a horror film. So, human getting transformed into animal, you know. So, let us watch this clip and then we will come back again. Yeah. So, now that you have watched this clip, of course, it is horror film, and what is showing, it is a kind of animal transformation film, where this Rahul Roy's character gets transformed during night on particular occasions into a tiger, right, obviously into a monster, who then actually creates mayhem and goes after women, right. So, that is again, how is this horror induced in this particular shot or series of shots, that you have seen in the clip? It is through focusing on the general destabilization of the face. Again, it is the same camera, it is the same close-up shot, which actually in earlier clips showed you about love and romance, or another clip showed you about the critical perspective of the female character. Now it shows you horror, or within you creates this effect of horror. So, what is this horror all about? Well, the teeth coming out, right, or whiskers coming out of the face. So, that is so what I am trying to say, that close-up shots can have infinite possibilities of implications, readings, and this is how cinematic language speaks to the viewer, the audience. Of course, within this within this close-up shot only, you will also see examples of extreme close-up shot. And what is that extreme close-up shot? In this Rahul Roy clip only, well, when the camera focuses only on the face, then this is close-up shot. But when the camera focuses on ears, when the camera focuses on teeth, when the camera focuses on eyes, then it is called extreme close-up shot, which means in close-up shot, if the subject is shown in details, then in extreme close-up shot, it is the subject is shown in even more minute details, right? So this will get evident in the next clip that we will see. This is from the title credits of Vertigo, Hitchcock, right? So let us watch this clip and we'll have more idea about extreme close-up shot, right? So the next clip that I'll be showing you is about extreme close-up shot. Yes, so clearly there is a difference between the earlier clips that you have seen and this Hitchcock Vertigo thing. What is it? It starts with the lips. It starts with lips. The camera focuses first on lips, then on eyes, then everything. So what happened? It's presenting not only the face but facial features even without minute details, right? So this is what we call as extreme close-up shot. And this extreme close-up shot, just like close-up shot, also expresses emotions. Of course, the intensity of emotions is more in extreme close-up shot than close-up shot. So this is how shots play an important role when all of us are watching films. Now we move on to the next shot, next type of shot rather, extreme wide shot. What do we mean by extreme wide shot? Well, to begin with, let us now focus on this particular next clip which has been taken from the film Sholay, and you have the initial credit scene also, where credits are given to actors, actresses, the names of the actors, actresses, filmmakers come. So let us watch and then we'll come back again and discuss extreme wide shot. Yes, so what did this extreme wide shot clip tell you or show you? Clearly it is very, very different from the earlier shots. It is different from close-up shot, it is different from POV shot, it is different from extreme close-up shot. What is the basic difference? The basic difference is that the subject is no longer minutely seen. So focus moves from one subject to the large broad canvas. So what happens? The policeman jumps out of the train and jumps onto the horse, and there is a horse ride going, and the music of course starts and the film credits start. And what we see, that in the scene there are large mountains, sky, infinite possibilities, and you see the horseman or the policeman riding on the horse moving from left to right. There comes an occasion or more than one occasion when the subject itself is not clearly visible. Instead, what is visible is the background, right? And that background, this is what we call extreme wide shot. So what is the purpose of extreme wide shot? Extreme wide shot focuses on the large canvas, on the large setting, right? How is the subject placed? How is the microcosm placed in front of the macrocosm? This is what is described by extreme wide shot. So this is what we know as extreme wide shot. So if close-up shots, POV shots, extreme close-up shots reveal emotions within the subject, extreme wide shot gives you idea of the entire gamut, entire perspective, the larger perspective of the macrocosm. Where is microcosm placed in the whole idea of macrocosm? This is what we know as extreme wide shot. Of course, there are other type of shots also between close-up shot and extreme wide shot. You also have wide shot. You also have mid-wide shot. So that depends upon the camera and the distance it shows within the film. So this is what we call as extreme wide shot. Now the next film clip that we will see is about shot or reverse shot. What do you mean by shot or reverse shot? Well, let us first watch this clip and then we'll come back and discuss. Yeah. So in many films, in fact in almost all films, unless it's of course you are talking about silent films, if one character talks within the film, let's say there are two characters in any frame, scene frame, and one character talks, then the other character talks. So when character X talks, the camera focuses on character X. When camera Y talks, then the camera again focuses on the face of character Y. Character X, character Y, face of character X, face of character Y. This is called as shot or reverse shot. So, the clip that you have just seen is from the film Jindwa, Punjabi film Jindwa, right, where the hero and the heroine are conversing with each other. So, when the heroine Sargun Mehta talks, then the character on the focus of the camera is on her. When Jimmy Shergill, the hero, talks, the focus is again on him. So, you see shot, reverse shot, and it's done simultaneously. So, first you see Sargun Mehta, then you see Jimmy Shergill. Sargun Mehta, Jimmy Shergill. So, this is called shot, reverse shot, right. So, this is also a very interesting and actually an integral part of all films that we all see. Of course, when we see these films, we see these films and are actually unconscious of these shots. But now as film, as most of you are, all of you are doing this particular FDP about cinema or how language of cinema speaks. So, now you will have a better idea of how things move. So, friends, shot is an integral component of cinematography. The second very vital aspect of cinematography is camera movement. What do we mean by camera movement? Because all of us must have observed whenever we have watched films that sometimes it appears as if when the character is moving from place X to place Y, let us say left to right, right to left, then it appears as if the camera is also moving from left to right and right to left. Yes, you are right, and there are different movements of the camera. For example, something we call as camera panning. What is camera panning? Well, let us say the camera is static and it swivels from left to right and right to left whenever the character or the subject moves, right. So, the camera is static, but it swivels from left to right and right to left. So, that is called camera panning. There is another type of movement of camera among many movements of camera is that of tracking shot. What is tracking shot? Here the camera is not static, but camera moves with the subject either backward or forward. Panning was the camera is static, it moves from left to right, but tracking is about the camera also moves from either forward or backward. So, let us quickly watch this clip. This is from the film Rocky, right, of Sylvester Stallone, and let us watch this clip and then we will discuss about tracking shot. Yes. So, now that you have watched tracking shot, what do we make out of it? Here is Sylvester Stallone, and those of you who have watched the film, he is now practicing. He is practicing for his next bout, right, his next fight as it were. And how does he practice? Well, he is jogging, and of course, the brilliant, almost signature music of all Rocky franchise film starts, right. So, what do we see? We see that Stallone, Rocky, is coming towards the camera, is jogging towards the camera, which means the camera is also moving backward, right. So, this is what we call as tracking shot. So, he is jogging and the camera is moving backward. Then when we see Rocky jogging with his back, then the camera is moving forward and Rocky is also moving forward, right. So, this is called tracking shot. Now, what is the purpose of tracking shot? Of course, the purpose of one of the purposes of tracking shot is to create a sense of heightened emotion. See, if the character moves and the camera is stable or static, it has a different impact. But if the camera also moves, then of course it has a different impact. In Ram Gopal Verma's films, 1990s, Satya and other films, you have the technology of handycam camera, where the let's say if you are if the character is running, right, then what happens? You follow, the camera follows the character and it appears as if the camera is also shaking, the frame is also shaking. Why? Because a person holds the handycam and runs after that character, right. So, that is another instance of handycam camera. So, anyway, what we are talking about is tracking shot, right. So, this is an example of tracking shot where the camera runs either forward or backward along with the character. So, it also helps to build the intensity. Another very important camera movement, type of camera movement, is what all of us are aware of. Even if we have not hold any particular film camera in our hands, but we are all aware of that. Why and how? Because we are talking about zoom now. We will be talking about zoom in and zoom out. And if you are using your mobile camera, right, or a camera on mobile, we also do it zoom in and zoom out. So, this is very easy, and I am sure all of us are aware of it. Nevertheless, let us watch this clip. This clip is from the one song in Betab, पर्वतों से आज मैं टकरा गया, तुमने दी आवाज मैं आ गया. Right. So, this is one of the very first films of Sunny Deol, right? And let us watch this clip and the specified minutes in that clip, and we'll come back again and discuss. Yes. So, what did you see in this film? The character, the heroine, first of all is the heroine, the female protagonist. She is the first time the camera focuses on her and she is looking everywhere. And when she is about to walk back, what does she hear? She hears a song, somebody is singing. She looks back and then the camera zooms in on a Sunny Deol, on the Sunny Deol character who is placed far away from the protagonist. So, what is this effect called? This effect is called zoom in, and zoom in will always be or not always actually, but mostly zoom in is also accompanied by zoom out, right. So, what is zoom out? Once the camera zooms in on Sunny Deol and then zooms out and comes back to this female protagonist. So, this is again movement of the camera, zooming in and zooming out. What does zooming in create? Zooming in creates that there is a subject, of course the lover, who is hidden somewhere and he is singing, and then it zooms out. So, that particular character is placed in relation to the larger location, the larger setting. So, how is microcosm placed in relation to that of macrocosm? How is Sunny Deol, who is singing, placed in relation to the wild, mountainous forest scenery in the background? That reveals, right. So, that is zoom in and zoom out, and of course, it creates an impact. It creates an impact. Well, most probably it is about the love story beginning in the film between the male and the female characters. So, it starts with that. Let us quickly also watch the next example of zoom in. This is from the film Anurodh. Again, more or less it's same, just like Betab song. And again, the point is the character, the hero Rajesh Khanna, he is singing a song and the female protagonist is trying to locate him where he is, right. So, let us watch this clip. Yes. So, this clip shows you a slightly different zoom effect. What is the difference? Unlike the Betab clip, there is no parallel, there is no simultaneous zoom in and zoom out. There is no zoom in being followed by zoom out, but this is only zooming in. When you see the focus on Rajesh Khanna's character, and then it does not come back, it does not zoom out, but there is a cut and the face of the heroine comes. So, friends, what I am trying to say that zoom in and zoom out is a type of camera movement which also has a visual narrative to communicate, and then it becomes very important that we focus on that. So, the song, the lyrics, the background sound, and the focus on a very far distant male character singing. So, that creates an heightened effect about it. Now, we move on to the next component, a very important component of cinematography, that is called camera angles. So, first you had shots, different type of shots being produced on screen. Then you had camera movement, where the camera would be physically moving, right. And now we have camera angles. What do we understand by camera angles? Well, most of us, when we watch films, sometimes it appears that the camera is right on top of a particular character. So, the camera as it was placed up and somebody is down. And sometimes when this somebody looks above the camera, that is the camera, right, and it looks upon up. So, the camera angles can be broadly of two types: camera, high angle camera and low angle camera. What is high angle camera? High angle camera is when the camera is looking at the subject from up. So, when the camera is looking at the subject from up, then the subject below looks diminutive, right, looks tiny, obviously, because when you are focusing right from above, well, the character looks minute, right. So, this can have two implications. Sometimes when the high angle camera shows you a minute or character in tiny proportion, it does not mean that the character is that the tiny character is weak. It might have a different impact. It might show you the subject, the helplessness of the subject who is placed above, right. So, let us quickly watch this clip. This is from the film Sadak, filmed on Sanjay Dutt, and he is tied. It's reaching towards the climax of the film, where he is tied on the crossbar right above, and he sees the villain and his team members, capturing or having in hostage the female character Pooja Bhatt, the heroine. So, let us quickly watch and then we'll come back and discuss. Yes. So, what do we see as an example of high angle camera? Sometimes when Sanjay Dutt is looking down and is right up above, he sees, yes, the villain looks, villain Maharani, like, looks diminutive, his heroine Pooja Bhatt looks diminutive, all his gangmen look diminutive. However, what we need to understand, that Sanjay Dutt himself is feeling helpless. Why is he feeling helpless? Because he is tied. He is tied to the crossbar and he cannot come and help his heroine out. He cannot protect her from there. So, you see, that is a large scale proportion, right. So, this high angle camera then for the subject who is placed up shows his helplessness. Having said that, this high angle camera can also show the helplessness of the tiny character, or the people who look tiny and diminutive, who are on ground. And the second clip will actually show this, right. So, let us watch the other clip in this section of camera angles, and then we will come back and discuss. Yes. So, what does this clip show you? Unlike the earlier Sadak clip, this clip shows you that when this monster is looking, or when this looking at the boatsmen who are down, right, who are trying, who are actually paddling away their boats with oars, right, they are throwing. There is a fear or helplessness in those characters' eyes. This is what the high angle camera is trying to show you. Please try to understand. High angle camera in the Sadak scene showed the helplessness of the hero who is unable to save his beloved. Here it shows helplessness of those characters who are down, right, and because they are unable to save themselves. So, high angle camera, this particular angle can have two different cinematic language to communicate. Of course, depends upon perspective, of course depends upon the context. So, that is there. So, this is what we called as high angle camera. Camera can also be low angle camera, right, that can be another angle, which means when you are down and looking at something above you, right. So, this is what we know as low angle camera. When you are down, when you are yourself a subject is diminutive, tiny, and you are looking at something up above you. So let us quickly watch this clip and then we'll discuss. Right. So what do we see when we see right from the low angle? We see this is a Prabhas film, and Prabhas, of course, I mean, if you watch only the specified minutes in that particular clip, you would find that Prabhas, the character, beats up the villain and his men, and then he stands outside the car and on the top of the glass, on the top of the car, right, windscreen of the car. And what does it happen? Where is the camera placed? The camera is placed aligning with the eyes of the villain who is seated inside, and he sees Prabhas from outside the car threatening him. Right. So this is the low angle camera where you are aligning your vision with that of the character seated within the car and is being threatened by the hero. So the hero, as it were, of course, he doesn't appear to be monstrous, but he appears to be of larger proportion, in the sense he appears to be the boss over there in that particular scene. So this is how the heroic imagery is created, right. So low angle camera then actually creates this particular type of imagery, right, whereby the hero achieves his heroism over that of villain, right. So camera angle then also plays a major role as far as this thing is concerned. Another component of cinematography, and perhaps that would be the last component of the cinematography as far as this talk is concerned, is about focus, right? Focus in films. Now, sometimes when you watch a particular scene, it might appear to you that, I mean, all of us know, right? A scene can have two things: foreground and background. What is foreground? Foreground is when subject is placed just in front of you. That's foreground. Background, of course, would mean when you are looking at the background against which the subject is placed on screen. Now, sometimes when you watch certain films, you would find that the focus is equivalent both on background and foreground. And sometimes when you watch films, you would find that perhaps the focus is more on the foreground, the subject on the foreground, and the background vanishes. And there have been instances when the focus will be more on the background and the subject then vanishes. Understood? So focus, again a very important component of cinematography, is about either equivalent projection of foreground or background, or lopsided projection where either the foreground is focused and the background vanishes, or the background is focused and foreground is vanished. In cinematic terminology, these are generally known as deep focus and shallow focus. What is deep focus? Deep focus would be focus where both the background and the foreground will be adequately and equally distributed or shown. Let us watch this clip from Citizen Kane, black and white film. And this is one of the this is so important clip that almost all scholarly discussion on focus of a film would inevitably have this component, right. So let us see this film quickly, Citizen Kane clip, and then let us discuss this. Yeah. So now that you have seen this clip, how does this clip start? How does the scene start? Well, initially you see the boy playing with snow outside, and you are seeing it through the window, just as the character is seeing the window, right. So you see the boy playing merrily, and you can hear him also playing outside the window, and it's a windy, snowy day. Slowly the camera moves in front of you, and then you have two characters, and later joined by the third character also, on the foreground, right. So there comes an occasion when in the background you have the child playing. You can clearly see it, you can clearly hear his voice. At the same time, you can also clearly hear the two characters on the foreground, the woman and her counsel talking to each other. And therefore, of course, between the background and foreground in the middle path also there is a character who stands, and slowly that character also comes and joins the foreground. So, what I am trying to say in this particular scene, you have deep focus, which means both background and the foreground, they are equally distributed and adequately represented, adequately shown. What is the purpose of this thing? The purpose of this thing is that whatever is happening in the foreground concerns the background, which means whatever the conversation that is taking place between the three characters in the foreground has to have something to do with the child in the background, and we all know the story. I mean, you can always watch the film and you know the story. They are talking about who will manage as far as the financial management is concerned, how will they, about the child, how will that be negotiated. So, these three people talking and the focus and the concern of the child, that is on the background. So, this is what we call as deep focus. Let us quickly watch the next clip. The next clip will show you about the shallow focus. So, let us watch. This clip is taken from the film Sangharsh, which showed Preeti Zinta and Akshay Kumar, right, and Ashutosh Rana in one of those very iconic representations of villainy in Hindi cinema, obsessive villainy as it were. So, let us quickly watch this clip. Right. So, I am sure all of you would be now able to distinguish between the earlier clip that you saw about deep focus and this clip. What is the difference? Well, when you are watching this particular clip from Sangharsh, you are either watching or either shown only the face of Ashutosh Rana when he speaks, or when he is shown or we are all shown the face of only Akshay Kumar when he speaks, or when you are all of us are shown face of a very Preeti Zinta, who is very much afraid. Important thing is only these faces are seen and not the background. So, the background as it were almost disappears and only the foreground is presented to you. What effect does it carry? It carries a very important effect. It shows total concentration is being focused on the subject and the foreground. So, this is what the difference is, and the background almost vanishes. So, the focus, the intensity, it almost always is there on the subject which is at the foreground. Nothing matters. What matters is the subject speaking. So, this is an impact of focus, or whether it is deep focus or shallow focus. Now, we move away from cinematography and focus on sound. Sound, as all of us know, has a very important role to play in films, both in filmmaking as well as film watching. Now, it's actually, I mean, one has to be very honest, but most of the times when most of us watch films, we tend to concentrate more on what we see rather than what we hear. Sometimes some scenes are so intensely shot that we are not even aware of what we are listening, but unconsciously we are listening. You know, in cricketing terms, what do we say, what do we call a very good, whom do we call a very good wicket keeper? Well, when the wicket keeper does not fumble with the ball, cricket ball, and he actually manages to catch everything going inside, then our attention is not so much on the wicket keeper, it's on the batsman and the bowler, right? Our attention comes to the wicket keeper primarily only when he misses something. The sound, I would say, is just like that. Some sound effects are so good and so mesmerizing, so powerful that sometimes they go unnoticed, but they are, I mean, sound components are doing their job. They are actually creating the necessary effect which is aiding you while you are immersed in the visual face or the visuality of the scene, right? So, this is what we call as sound. Now, of course, there are different type of sounds, right? We will go one by one. Broadly speaking, to first, let us say there are two types of sounds, diegetic sound and non-diegetic sound, right? So, what do we understand by diegetic sound? Well, let us quickly watch this clip, or let me just first talk about diegetic sound and the difference between that. Diegetic sound is when the character within the narrative, within the film, hears, and you also exactly hear, the viewer also exactly hears what the character hears. This is called diegetic sound. And what is non-diegetic sound? Non-diegetic sound is when only the viewer is able to hear certain voices, and the character within the film or characters within the film, they don't hear that voice, right? So let us quickly watch the first clip in the sound section, and and this will give you an idea of diegetic thing. This is from another Sunny Deol film, one of his very early films, from the film Sunny, right? And this song is Jaane Kya Baat Hai, Neend Nahi Aati, Badi Lambi Raat Hai, right? So let us watch this clip and we'll have a discussion. Yeah. So what does this song show you? What does the picturization of songs shows you? Well, it appears that Sunny Deol, the character, has come out from the club. He has a tennis racket out there in his bag, and he listens to a TV whereby this particular song, Jaane Kya Baat Hai, that song is being picturized, I mean shown on Amrita Singh, right? And he asks the person on the desk, kaun hai ye, and all that, which means the character inside, the Sunny Deol's character is hearing that song, as is the person who is on the desk. He is also hearing that song, and of course we as viewers, we are also hearing that song. So this is an example of diegetic song, right? So diegetic sound. What is diegetic sound then? The characters in the narrative or the character within the film gets to hear a voice which we as viewers also hear a voice, right? So right now it is almost as it were we are in media res in English literature terms, right? The action is taking place, the characters are hearing it, and we as viewers, we are also hearing it, right? So this is what we mean by diegetic sound. When diegetic sound is that, and what is the effect, the impact of diegetic sound? Well, you know, you are hearing something which the characters are also hearing, which means the impact or the effect that is having on the character, the same effect it will also have on the viewer, more or less the same effect, right? So this is diegetic sound. Now let us quickly see the non-diegetic sound. This is from a Bengali film, Bhuvan Shom, right? And it's the narratorial voices of Amitabh Bachchan, right? And this is, I think, in 1969 or something, one of the very, very early Amitabh Bachchan films that you would see. So let us quickly watch this clip, and then we'll talk about non-diegetic sound a bit more. Yeah. So clearly the difference is, so as the, I mean, compared to the earlier scene where the characters within the film are also hearing that song, here the gentleman or the oldish man who is actually pacing up and down that corridor, that thing, Bhuvan Shom, he is unable to hear the introduction of his character by Amitabh Bachchan, the narratorial voice. So this is exactly what do we mean by non-diegetic sound. Non-diegetic sound may include narratorial voice, right? Mostly it is in the beginning of the film when a particular voice, third person character, introduces the main characters or the plot of the film, which of course the main characters in the film, they don't get to hear it. So this is an example of non-diegetic sound. So non-diegetic sound is primarily only for the viewer. So if a film is shot whereby let's say a person is going to murder somebody and there is a background song, right, which only the viewer is able to hear, not that particular either the murderer or the victim. So that is again an example of non-diegetic sound, right? So this is a clearly a difference between, which means what? See, non-diegetic sound, the impact would be that the cinematic language is trying to communicate something to the viewer, to the audience, which is not meant for the characters. So that coded message comes directly to the viewer and is for the viewer rather than the characters. Another type of distinction between two different types of two types of sounds can be synchronous sound and non-synchronous sound. What is synchronous sound and what is non-synchronous sound? The basic difference between these two type of sounds is that when the sound that is created within the scene matches the lips of the character, that is called synchronous sound. So, you get to hear what you see the character speaking. So, the lip syncing of the character would be exactly what you are hearing. This is called synchronous sound, right. So, synchronous sound, an example would be the next clip. This has been taken from Malayalam horror film Akam, right, and you have the main Fahad Fazil and the other character, they are talking, right, they are talking to each other, and then the guests have also come, couple of guests come, I mean the husband and the wife, and they talk to these characters. So, what you hear is what you see. So, let us quickly watch this film and the clip, and then we will discuss. Yeah. So, now this longish or semi-longish clip that you have seen is from Malayalam film Akam, one of the only or very few films, horror films, that have been made by a female filmmaker, Shalini Usha Nair, Malayalam cinema. She made that film. Anyway, what we were discussing is about synchronous sound. So, here you have the character of Fahad Fazil talking to his girlfriend Tara, right, and then you have another scene whereby two guests have come and the husband and wife are also talking to both Fahad Fazil and of course his girlfriend. Now, you get to hear without any background music, you get to hear exactly what these people are seeing. So, if you focus on the face of these characters who are speaking, on the lips of this character, they are exactly speaking what you are hearing. So, this is called lip syncing, and when there is perfect example of lip syncing, this is called synchronous sound. How is synchronous sound differ, or how does it differ from non-synchronous sound? Gets very much revealed when you see the next film shot, the next clip. Now, this is from recent Telugu film Geeta Govindam, this song, and of course, it's picturized on Vijay Devarakonda and of course the other Rashmika Mandana, right. So, these people are there. So, let us quickly watch this clip, and then we will discuss the difference between synchronous and non-synchronous. Yeah. So, now that you have watched this clip, again you will be able to make difference, right. What is the difference between the earlier synchronous clip, sound clip that you saw, and this non-synchronous? In the synchronous sound clip, you had people talking, and you could hear people talking what exactly they were talking. But here, what do you see? Here you see that there is a song played, and the song is played in the mind of the female protagonist, Rashmika Mandana, right. So, she is, it's as if the song is playing in her mind, she is not lip syncing it, the hero is oblivious of any such song or any such sound that is being played, right. So, this is an example of non-synchronous sound. It is taking place within the mind. What is it? What does it show? It shows that the attraction of the beloved for the hero, of the heroine for the hero, is beginning. The hero is oblivious to it, and the heroine has yet not communicated her attraction to the hero. So, this purpose, or how is this effect shown? This effect is shown through this non-synchronous presentation of sound. Yenti, yenti. So, she is singing. She is singing within her mind, which means she is getting attracted, romantically attracted to the hero. The hero is oblivious to it, and the hero is merely walking. Of course, if you see the film, you will understand that, from the beginning of the film, the hero and heroine were always into war of words, and they don't like each other, right. But now something has happened previous to the scene where the girl now starts falling in love. So, this non-synchronous sound gives you then another impact. Another type of sound, and by the way, sound is as huge, I mean the impact of sound is as huge as the visual, as what you see, right. So, there are different types of sounds. We will be limiting ourselves only to some of the sound effects, right. So, another type of sound is called the contrapuntal sound. What do you mean by contrapuntal sound? Well, sometimes when you have certain action taking place in the scene, but the background music or the music within the scene itself, which the characters can hear, produces an opposite effect to what was or could be or what was happening or what is happening in the scene, right? In other words, what you see and what you anticipate something happening over here within the scene, you find that suddenly the music starts within the narrative or from outside, which actually is giving you a totally antithetical effect, right? So let us quickly watch this short clip from Reservoir Dogs film, the film Reservoir Dogs, and we will discuss this more about what is contrapuntal. Yeah. So, as you can understand, this villain, right, who is torturing the one held in captive, right? He's slashing, killing, and all that. So, so what happens? What do you anticipate? What do you expect? You expect sound that can create effect or impact of horror, fear, terror, and instead what you get? Instead you get this villain, he starts some sort of record player, right, transistor or tape recorder, whatever is there, and it's about a song, a sort of romantic song or a jovial song, it's played. Now this is not something that you anticipate, this is not something what you expect. You expect a more type of serious sound, background sound, serious song, which can actually match with the action taking place. But what happens over here? The opposite effect is created, and you have this villain, who is actually who is listening and dancing to that particular song. So this is what we know as contrapuntal sound. And contrapuntal sound, of course, there is another type of sound which is exactly opposite to contrapuntal sound, that is called parallel sound, right? So what do we understand by parallel sound? Let us quickly watch this clip and we will understand. So yes, parallel sound, this clip, as you can identify, is from James Bond franchise movies, right? And you have Daniel Craig, who is actually running, or rushing to a particular place on the terrace where a new action will begin. So what is the background sound, background music, which of course this character, James Bond character, cannot hear, is something, a traditional or signature James Bond music, background music, of course slight experimentation and reworking of that, and it actually creates certain mood within the audience. What is that mood? That mood is of anticipation, that something is happening and James Bond is pursuing it and James Bond will clinch this matter. So this is about suspense, thriller, detective, and the background, all these things are coming, right? So unlike the contrapuntal sound, where the effect of the sound within that particular scene was opposing the action that is taking place, here the sound is actually creating the space for action. This is called parallel sound. So this is what we are discussing about parallel sound. Now I will end this talk with the segment of montage. Again, a very crucial feature of films. How do we read a films? What is montage? Well, montage is a type of editing, film editing, right? And of course, dictionary or glossary, if you see, if you read about it, montage generally is defined as series of successive images or shots juxtaposed with each other to create a different message altogether, right? So what do we know? Well, let's say there are two shots shot separately, and in the process of editing they are combined together, right? And the message that the combination of those two shots creates might be very different from what the film shows, or might be exactly what the film wants to show, but it happens very quickly, which means they are condensed. They are condensing time, space, and action, right? And of course, there need not be only two shots combined. There can be successive shots combined together, right? There are successive shots arranged together, combined together, and you have the effect of montage. Remember, montage is a very, very powerful tool which has been used, I mean, since times immemorial. It also, I mean, Sergei Eisenstein. Eisenstein is a huge figure in film scholarship, in filmmaking, and the Soviet montage that we saw, that we use, that was used by him, was brilliant, right? Whether it's Battleship of Pomkane or any such thing, any film that you'd seen. So he would define something like metric montage, you know, tonal montage, rhythmic montage, all all these montages were created. And of course, after Soviet montage, you also had Americans using montage, right? So that was American montage, Hollywood montage. The basic core is this, and let us quickly watch this clip. Let us quickly watch this clip. It is from a film that was which came out in 1988. They Live, right? And quickly watch this clip, and you will immediately understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So, what does this clip tell you or show you? The clip shows basically a man who is walking through the marketplace and he wears glasses. The moment he wears glasses, he sees different things, right? And different people and different writings, right? So, when he takes off the glasses and sees just like all of us see, then it shows a marketplace. Let's say it shows big signboards, right, which might say men's apparel, right? But when he puts on the glasses, he sees some things like obey. He sees something like obey written on the board, on the signboard. He sees something like consumerism, consumption, right? So the point is, of course, the filmmaker is trying to give you a particular message through this montage. What is the message? The message is about a consumerism culture of globalization. What do you mean by globalization? Globalization and the upper class, right? So they are coming out with malls. They are coming out with different advertisement, different culture. It's a different culture altogether. Maybe we need a largest discussion for this type of thing, but we will not go to that extent. What can be the interpretation of such consumerism is reflected when the character wears the glass. So when he wears the glasses, we have the critical approach to postmodernism, critical approach to globalization, critical approach to this consumerist thing. And what is the critical approach? The critical approach is that mall culture is creating the gap between the haves and the have-nots, the rich and the poor. So the consumerist section will keep on, putting more and more money, whereas the poor people will not have access to that. Multiplex theatre, if you compare it with the earlier theatres, right? So multiplex theatre, the popcorn going crowd actually addresses to a particular type of viewers, whereas the older films theatres like Golcha, for example, there even a rickshawala can go and see, right? Front benches and everything, front also there. So what I'm trying to say that montage plays a huge role in communicating of meanings through rapid succession of shots, right? So if you watch the film, and this is a science fiction film, that the clip that you have seen, and here is this person who has come looking for jobs in Los Angeles, and what does he see in Los Angeles? And what is the interpretation of such a culture in Los Angeles? That gets reflected when he wears glasses. So the glass, a prop, induces this montage in it. So and this is the magic of montage. The filmmaker is not going to show you different things and explain to you, but these are explanatory itself. These things are explanatory themselves through montage, right? Now the second and the last clip of today's presentation talk would be another clip of montage where you would see how time is compressed. This is a song from the film Wazir, shot on Aditi Rao Haidari and Farhan Akhtar. So let us quickly watch and then we'll discuss it. Yes. So what did you see in this film? What did all of us see in this film? In this particular clip, the song. The song begins with the prospective bridegroom, Farhan Akhtar, has come to in a matchmaking process, right, with his family, and there he meets Aditi Rai Hydari. What happens? They fall in love with each other, they get married, they have children, and they also then the child grows up, and Aditi Rao Hydari, the character, is seen dancing. Everything happens within the space of few minutes of that song. You know, in some films, for the character to fall in love with the female character or the male character, it takes the entire film, right? And of course, the child comes later, and sometimes the child does not come and the film ends. But the entire thing is shot within this particular song, which means compression of time and space, of course. It gives you a different meaning. So, montage has this purpose also. Why is it montage? Because different things, different shots are combined together. The shot when the matchmaking is taking place, the shot when the hero and heroine meet for the first time, the shot when the romance develops from them, the shot when they get married, the shot when they, or rather shots when the child is born, shots when the child grows up. So, that is compressed, and within the space of that time you get to see and understand what do we mean by montage. Another example, which the clip of course will not, I will not show you today, is from that film Dhoni, you know, the Dhoni film song, whereby the song itself shows that this Sushant Singh Rajput playing the character of Dhoni, he is you know, writing exam papers, then quickly catching train, boarding train, and then going to play games for his club, then coming back again, then going. So, within that particular scene, you see the emergence of this college going character from Dhoni, the figure, from as a college going character to that of a cricketer. So, this is the example of montage. Montage, remember, it started long time back. You had Eisenstein, the master player, doing it, then you had the American versions, Hollywood versions, and what not. So, montage itself has been put up to experimentation on several times, and now we are also seeing the Indian montage, Indian ways of montage, right. So, montage as again plays a huge role in watching films and how do we read films. So, friends, I end today's lecture, today's talk, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it opens new vistas for you, for your enjoyment, for your research work that you might want to do. And so, this is how we end today's thing. I hope all of us would get benefited from this thing, reading films, cinematography, montage and sound. Thank you so much.